koutou. Ngā mihi atu ki a koutou. There are two types of people in the social services. There's navigators and there's people that want to be us. We are the envy of a lot of social services. I have a lot of, over the last few months, we've had a lot of people come into our office and want to talk about how they can get navigators on board and how they go about getting funding from us to provide them with navigators. My answer to them is change your approach. So I'm often asked what it is that we do. And I've had to think long and hard about what it is that we do. And my answer now is, I'll tell you what we do everything. We can teach people how to make rewana bread. We mentor children. We advocate in court. We can teach whānau basic skills. We support whānau going to social services where they feel very uncomfortable. We enable whānau, we support whānau, and we cater to the needs of whānau. We do what whānau ask us to do, we don't tell them what they need. So, we do everything. I'd like to talk about kia ora, my navigators are rolling in thick and fast here, you're a bit late. Yeah. I'd like to talk about a young wahine that we dealt with last year, who had come from adverse circumstances from the North Island and had entered into the education arena being ara. She was subjected to all the bad things that could happen to a woman. She escaped that by leaving her 3 children with her auntie and her other child with her sister. She entered herself into ARA, which is a lot of you know it as the CPIT or the Polytechnic, and her building course. She wanted to sort out her life. 2 days into this course, she rang me and said, I'm having a panic attack. I'm suffering from anxiety. I don't want to live anymore. So I said, don't do anything. I'm on my way. I went and picked her up. And on the way there, I thought, man, what am I going to do with this girl? I'm no counsellor. I've counselled, but I certainly don't have the quals. What do I do? So I thought, well, if it was my girl, what would I tell my girl? So I picked her up, we went out to Taumutu, we lit a fire, we had something to eat, and we talked for about 3 hours. Cut a long story short, that girl came off the back end of her course last year and become the Student of the Year, 2 scholarships, is on the way to getting all of her children back. Now, do I take credit for that? Definitely not. Because if she chose not to do that, I certainly wouldn't take credit for her failing. So, this wahine, she had to take those first steps. All I was doing was standing beside her and supporting her. If she fell over, I helped her get back up. There was one thing that occurred to me. You know, as Māori, we're very spiritual in the way in which we do things. And it wasn't until after thinking about that sitting around that fire, is that all of the elements were incorporated in that corridor. We were sitting next to the beach, near the sea, by ourselves, on the earth, breathing fresh air, next to the fire, drinking water, having a kai, and having a kōrero. So I think on that day, the universe came together and looked after her, and she decided to get her shit together and get on with life. So what do? We do everything. I'm going to drop a name here, and Helen would be saying, oh, there you go again, name dropper. But Tariana Turia, we can all drop her name because we've all met her. So, when I first started in the navigation realm, I was confused. I said, what do we do? What the hell is this thing? She says it's two things. It's whakapapa, and it's about whakapapa, and it's about whānau. That's what she said. I'm looking at her and... So, I'm not messing around. I said, look, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. And she said, tell me about your whānau. Tell me about where you're from. Tell me about what you've done, how you've done it. We sat up in the small hours talking about this stuff. And at the end of that, she said, well, that's whānau water, that's whānau navigation. So I knew that. I know all about whānau navigation, if that's it, as do all of us. Most of us have lived it. We've lived it our whole lives. Those of you that have worked in the public sector as Māori workers know what it's like to work beneath the radar to look after whānau. This position provides us with a beautiful platform and mechanism with which to work with our whānau, and we can do it openly, freely, and be proud about the way in which we do it. I love it. It's a passion of mine. It's the way I live. We 5 weeks ago we were called down to Hukanui to have a meeting with 3 judges, and a number of social service were invited to this meeting. And we were given the opportunity to present to 3 judges. It was an amazing meeting. There are a lot of social services, and as we do, we like to showboat and showcase how good we are and what we can do. But for us, for myself, Serena, and the navigators from Hukanui, Melissa, Aroha, we wanted to talk about whānau because that's what it is for us. It's all about whānau. So we talked to the judges about what we did, how we did it. We told our stories. And the judges, we were the second to last, right? Out of about 10 groups. We were the only ones that the judges asked questions of. And one of the judges said, why don't I know about this? How come I don't know about this? This is huge, he said. I was like, I don't know, ask your minister. So he said, you know what? He said, I'm damned if I do and I'm damned if I don't in this position as a judge. If I put a rangatahi out into the community with no support, he said it's like I'm putting him into a boat and just pushing him out to sea. He says, if I lock the rangatahi up, I've got the Māori community on top of me saying, you're locking too many of our Māori up. He said, but whoa, he says, with a navigator, I'm going to have clean hands, He said, with a navigator walking beside these people and providing them with support, I can cut the rangatahi that I put in jail this year in half. That is a game changer. That is what he said to us. He's come back to us and said, I want to take this to the judges forum and talk to the judges about what these people do. He also wants navigation to be showcased at the law symposium next year. He said every lawyer should know what a navigator does. So, to me, navigation has been a significant part of what's happening in Te Waipounamu for our whānau. And we've come from 11 navigators to 55 navigators, including 2 manukura that assist navigators with training and support. For me, the best way to explain or describe what we do is to see the human face of our navigators and to talk about what our whānau, our navigators do on a day-to-day basis. So, without any further ado, I'd like to introduce, we have 3 speakers. I have Kitty Robinson, she's from here. Tane Whanga, kia ora Tane. And I also have an example of a navigator that is talking about some of the whānau that she's interacted with. And I just wanted to provide this example as a digital example as opposed to a case study, because you get to see the emotion and the face of our navigators. So without any further ado, if we could have Kitty come up. Oh, I paki paki, Kitty. Hey.
The hand, the bod, when you're staring at a demigod. What can I say except you're welcome for the time.
Thank you. Kia ora whanau. I hope you're all well rested and ready for another fruitful day today. I'd just like to start by saying aroha mai. Public speaking's not one of my strong suits, so please bear with me. Well, I have a big story to tell. Today I'm going to share something that helped solidify my path as a whānau navigator and what reminded me why I am here today. In 2015, I started a journey here at Te Runango, Ngā Matawaka, within the walls of the social services course, just up the back there. It would be a different journey from what I had experienced before. It would be a journey of self-discovery, self-empowerment, and a journey of whānau connection. Most of you all know that it's not okay kaupapa and the faces of it. The main faces being Vic Tamari and Phil Paikia. However, what most don't know is that Phil Paikia is my father and my hero, and I felt I had big shoes to fill. When I would stumble within the class, I would call upon him for advice. He would always say to me, "Daughter, you have your QBE, you'll be just fine. You know all of this stuff, you've lived it. This is just the academic side." And just so you know, QBE stands for Qualified by Experience, life experience. By the time I got to my second year, I had been a guest speaker at a Kultamen Hui alongside my dad and my Uncle Vic. I was a youth volunteer worker for Familial Trust. I was an organiser for the March for Moko, as well as I helped with the Justice for Moko campaign. I was honoured by becoming a champion for Safe Women, Safe Family, and my path was starting to form. Late October last year, I was offered my final placement here at Matawaka as a whānau navigator. I didn't really understand what the term navigator meant, especially in the social service aspect, until I dived into the role. I not only became part of a team with some pretty cool teammates, but I became part of a wider whānau. I was honestly scared and in fact terrified, and I didn't feel that I was ready for this role. But with the encouragement from my colleagues, Chantal, Damien and Poharama, I aced it. I graduated and I scored me a job. I was so blimmin' excited to call my dad and to tell him my news, looking for that positive affirmation. But it wasn't the affirmation I needed. That I think I needed to give to myself. I was always asking Chantal, who's also my team leader, if I was doing okay, if there was anything I needed to work harder on, or if there was anything I wasn't doing right. Her answer was always the same: "Kitty, you're doing just fine," but somehow that still didn't seem to cut it. I was always questioning myself. Am I doing the right things by my clients? Am I giving them the right information? Am I leading them in the right direction? And am I on the right path? Eventually my caseload would grow and I would become more independent within my mahi. I would soon get a referral for a new client who had returned to Aotearoa to fight for the cure of her tamariki. Let's call her Mary. Mary came back with nothing but the clothes on her back. Within minutes of meeting her, it became apparent that she was very motivated and proactive about what it is that she needed to do. Mary had got herself an appointment at WINS to apply for a benefit. She was actively looking for a whare for her and one of her children while she fought for the others. The one thing that Mary said was that she had no one there to help and support her. She didn't know where to turn to or who to talk to. We tried different options with different agencies, but she couldn't seem to click with them. Because of past trauma that Mary had suffered, she felt she couldn't trust anybody. So she decided to stay working with me. Over a short period of time, she found a home. She sorted her income and she started to hand out her CV. Things were looking up for her and she was smiling. There were a few bumps in the road, but as we do here in Otautahi, they get filled pretty quick. However, just last week, my phone buzzed. It was after 9:30 p.m, and usually I don't answer my phone after hours. In fact, I normally turn it off. You know, we all have to have that self-care time. But something was telling me to look at my phone. It was Mary, and she was beside herself. Winds had just dropped a huge debt on her from 20 years ago. Along with other things that had been weighing on her mind, Mary had had enough. I could feel her pain through her words and knew if I was to call her and actually speak with her, I would run the risk of becoming more emotional with her and maybe creating more harm than good. So we talked via text for a couple of hours and I was able to calm her down. It was then that Mary said that she was sitting in her lounge crying uncontrollably when she heard, "It's not okay to say she was asking for it." Mary looked up and seen my dad. She said that she could see me in him and it was as if he was directing her to contact me, and that was exactly what she did. I finally got her off that ledge, so to speak, and she headed off to bed. The next morning I came into mahi and I reached out to Chantal. As we were discussing what had happened, Mary texted me and started apologising profusely. Mary then went on to tell me she actually wanted to end her life. She had had enough of the stresses she was facing, and with the added pressure from winds, she felt she couldn't take any more. Again, she kept apologising. Mary then said, "Kiri, you are the only one that I know I can trust. Thank you for being there for me." I said to Mary, "Please stop saying sorry. You did the right thing by reaching out, and I'm proud of you for doing so. Reaching out doesn't always seem as easy as it sounds, but it is. Remember, a problem shared is a problem halved. I'm always here to help you where I can, and I'm always here to listen." I then reminded her that it's not weak to speak, and that she has much to live for and is needed by many. Mary went on to talk about my dad and how thankful she was his ad came on when it did. It was then that I realised I wasn't the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff. I was the hand leading her away from that ledge. It was humbling and grounding to know that just by being the sturdy shoulder for Mary to lean on, I may have saved her life. And by doing so, I helped the whole whānau from having to grieve for a loved one. I know that Mary trusts me enough to reach out. To know that Mary trusts me enough to reach out was the affirmation I needed. And that solidified my journey. Mary is the captain of her waka. I navigated her through the tide from the rough waters to the calm. From this, I now understand and appreciate the role how important the role as a whānau water navigator is. We are important to this initiative, to our whānau and to our community. And I'd just like to end by saying each one, reach one, whatever it takes. Ngā mihi koutou.
Well, Kitty. This next fellow that's going to come up and talk, Tāne, Rā called me Maui. This guy is the Maui of Mauis. So I'd like you to give a warm welcome to Tāne Whana. Kia ora.
All right, it's right. Stand up. Awesome. So, believe it or not, I actually get nervous in front of large crowds. Alright? So, to calm my nerves, I like to sing for a while up there. Where the first time up. E papa mai ai, papa ni ma. Come down, up. Papa ni ma. Should we have to give us
Kia ora koutou, ko tāne whanga tōku ingoa. Koe te reo kahunu rau korongo mai wāhine ki te mahi mai tāwhiti, ki te tanga tō ihaka whanga. Nō reira, kia ora. I'm standing here before you today to talk about the kaha of a kaupapa. So, just a bit of a kōrero about the whakapapa of my navigation. I began navigating in 2016, in February. I began navigating through Mātāwaka, and that was through the second wave of navigators. In August 2016, I moved from whānau ora into youth justice. In November 2016, I went back to whānau ora with the earthquake response Ki Serin and Ward. In January 2017, I went back to youth services. And then in April 2017, I went to dinner at the Boathouse over in Nelson. I invited myself. When I went to the Boathouse, I saw a whānau standing on the stage. And this whānau, I'd worked with them in Canvasstown. They're here today. Kia ora. And what we did is we looked at ways which they could support their iwi. And we planted a real small seed, really, really small seed. And then I left whānau ora services. Then when I went to this dinner, they've turned it into a full-blown industry through apiary. And to me, this showed me the strength of a kaupapa and the strength of aspirations for whānau. And in reflecting back on Dr. Irirangi Hike's kōrero ina pō, tohu. So to me it was just a sign I just wasn't listening. So what I've done now is I've made myself visible to te pūteitanga and letting them know what I want to do and going for it. And mihiing to you, Sarah, about authenticity. This is me. It's important to be authentic. The reason why is our whānau know they can sniff it out. So, kia ora, I was looking for that one. So, seeing the strength and the power of the kaha of a kaupapa really stirred me. So for me, Te Pūteitanga gifted me some tools. And those tools were tools of engagement. Those tools were path and tetramet. Because I work under a different contract, did not stop me from being a navigator. Like Helen said, I don't need your permission. Kia ora whā. What I started doing is I started using the whānau ora way within my mahi within youth justice services. And I have a short case study. Where are we? Cool. About a young boy. So this youth justice plan was done in a kaupapa whānau ora way. The situation before the intervention was 5 years of CMP and YJ involvement, breaching bail weekly notifications to the police, youth aid, known to oranga tamariki and the police in a negative light, and constant reoffending. The navigation intervention was by creating a path in terms of a dream-focused plan for him, particularly around leadership and music. I want to be a recording artist. So the flow of interventions and highlighting some of the outcomes, what we did first is we created a path with him through the navigation tools. What this did is it created hope. It developed his dreams based on what he likes to do and seeing the light and concentrating on the light at the end of the tunnel. The second intervention was Jacob was a kaiawhi on Mātāwaka's Te Puerea holiday program for guitar work and positive role modelling in terms of a tuakana role. The outcomes of that is that he developed his leadership skills, built confidence from public view, from oranga tamariki, and composed his first song. Now. I had to tell him when. Now. When.
Stand by.
Oh, play the video, please. Kia ora.
I've had my time. Took itself away in the end.
So the song was composed by Jacob and it was sung by one of our staff members at Mahi. We took that staff member from Mahi and we took him to court and we got them to sing that song to the judge. The judge was blown away. Yeah. For us, it was really important to showcase him. What that song was called Misty Blue. And what it was about his offending. And it was about, don't judge me based on my offending, judge me based on what I want to do. Judge me based on my dreams, judge me based on my aspirations. The third intervention we did was enrolling a staff member to develop Jacob's voice and his confidence, Vita Waka. So Mātai Waka was able to gift a talented staff member, showed singing, showing Mātai Waka had faith in his dreams. Jacob was able to write a song about his sister that had passed away. Jacob refused counselling support, but we delivered counselling in a different way, through music. The staff member was able to develop Jacob's voice in the hope of Jacob singing his own songs. The staff member developed several styles of music with Jacob. The next intervention we did was showcasing Jacob at the Marlborough Youth Trust event by offering a platform to introduce Moving On, the Moving On song to the world. What this did was build confidence in a large crowd, allowed positive participation in society. Youth aid officer was notified, he came down to see Jacob perform. Jacob was able to showcase his composition talents through a Mātai Waka staff's voice. And a recording company, learning Jacob's story and listening to his composition from this, has offered him studio time. Jacob's goal of, I want to be a recording artist, will have been met. This is before his FGC. Anei te mana o whānau ora. The other support that we needed to hook in was an actual navigator. So as you can tell through my whakapapa, I'm not a navigator, but I am. Because I don't need your permission. So the navigator enrolled Jacob as a support for other at-risk youth. This was positive role modelling. We have faith in his ability to be a positive role model now. He was always an amazing leader, but just in the wrong kaupapa. It builds on rangatahi capacity, with them managing themselves and their own behaviour. It works really good in programs. And also whānau ora's commitment of whānau ora support post-youth justice. So an engagement plan developed by Ripika, kia ora, te whānau, o Nuhaka, kia ora, for post-youth justice support. Ripika has been developing her report, Jacob, so a trust can be developed. Jacob needs this to feel safe with anybody he works with. Jacob does not trust many people with his dreams, as services have let him down before. Ripika has provided social support outside of youth justice for Jacob. Currently, Ripika is a part of Jacob's support cheerleading network. Ripika will be the service or the kaimahi that Jacob graduates to when he exited from youth services. So prior to realised dreams, bail breaches, weekly police involvement, negative view from Oranga Tamariki and the police, and constant reoffending. After realised dreams, no bail breaches, no police notifications, known in a positive light by Oranga Tamariki and the police, no reoffending, will reach his dream of becoming a recording artist, developed leadership skills, and most importantly, Jacob's happy. Because I'm a non-navigator, what I did is I tried to work out a way in how to install the kaupapa of whānau ora in our services. So what I did is I started off with our service, which was the youth service. Then I pulled out the programs. And then from those programs, I identified interventions in those programs where I'd be able to dreamweave. So through that kaupapa, 150 clients through 5 programs, through 16 different interventions, can be reached. This is through non-navigation. And just so you know, that's only 1/5 of the services at my host organisation. So if this is the amount of people that we can reach with the kaupapa, with one person that doesn't even do the job, imagine what we can do. Nō reira, I have a last now. When? Just to finish off, the song Not that one. Jacob supported with the kaupapa. It took them 2 hours. So in order to continue to develop the music and the leadership skills, Jacob was able to support the parts, I think they call them, the parts in there. And just so you know, that's Ti Rama Rama Mai through Wave 1. So, ko mutu tōku kōrero I tēnei wā, anei te kaho o te kaupapa o whānau ora, no reira kia ora.
Kia ora, Tane. Realised you had a brother. I just saw what looked like your head on a skinny body in that footage there. Oh, kapai. We at Te Tipu Teitanga receive reports in every quarter. Sometimes I struggle with understanding what some of my navigators are trying to say. And we're looking at alternative ways in which to report. We've come up with the idea of digital storytelling and navigators telling the story. We're also encouraging whānau to tell their story too. This next excerpt is from a wahine who hails from Rapaki, Kakararata. She is a fantastic navigator. She continually asks or talks to me about whether she thinks she's doing it right. She lives it, breathes it. She's a fighter for whānau. I absolutely adore her and admire her. A wee bit envious in the way in which she can so freely work her way around the whānau traps. Her name is Nairi Briggs. Now, where is she? Is she here? Oh, she's working with whānau down the back there, is she? Without any further ado, if you could put that video on of Nairi, just.
Ko te pāpuri te maunga, ko Kakararata te awa.
Aroha mai, aroha mai. So, these stories are everyday stories that happen with all of our navigators. These two stories are two of thousands of stories that we face on a day-to-day basis. So, just bear in mind, you know, this. I've shown this story to a number of my colleagues. A couple of them cried when they heard it. But bear in mind also that our navigators carry some of the raru that whānau have with them. And to be a navigator, you've got to be pretty tough and resilient. Nairi is one of these people. So, yeah, thank you. Kia ora.
Ko Te Ahi Pātiki Te Maunga, ko Kaukau Rarata Te Awa, ko Ngāti Hui Kai Taku Hapu, ko Tūte Hoariwa Taku Marae, ko Ngāi Briggs Taku Ingoa.
That's it. That's it.
That's
all
it?
that video did, I'm sorry.
Ka pai, ka pai.
Apologies.
Ka pai. Nairi, can we have you here in person? Sorry to put you on the spot. Ka pai. Haroa mai, Nairi. Bit of a surprise. Sorry, Nairi. She's a bit shy too, so.
Oh, right. Kia ora koutou, ko Ngāi Taku Ingoa. So I really didn't want to have to do this, but what I shared that day was about one of our young whānau rangatahi that again had been only seen through the lens of negativity through our systems, and we had the opportunity to showcase who he is at home on our pāsa. So we had the police over at Kaukau Rarata. They were there for wānanga. It was really awesome to have them in our space, and just so happened that we showed up with one of our young people, and they were all shocked to see him there because he's only been seen in a negative light. But they got to experience him at home and how we know him. So we don't know him by his street cred, whatever that is. We know him as a good boy at our marae. So that was really cool. They got to ask questions of him where he didn't feel threatened because they were stepping into his safety. So they were in his whare. He wasn't in theirs. And they were just blown away by what support looks like around our rangatahi, and when they are home with their people, that they are all of these wonderful things. And he got to serve them kai, got to sit with them, got to eat with them, and they got to know him as a person, not just as an offender. So that was a kind of a highlight moment that's happened as of late.
I'm sorry to put her on the spot. We had some technical issues, but Nairi spoke about how the police interacted with the rangatahi and seeing him in a different light around his whānau and the environment that he was in, and how it impacted on him. They got to see him real. You know, they didn't get to see him with his mates and busting into cars and doing all these crazy things that this young man was doing. But the people of the area have treated him with respect. Ngāri treated him with respect. You know, he had some value to his life. And I think it opened the eyes of the police that we're dealing with this young man. You know, and we all know that when the police or social services actually get to see what's going on with us and understand us, it gives them a better understanding of how to deal with whānau and how to get them across the line.
So yeah, just to finish that off, with the support of an amazing social worker from Oranga Tamariki, youth justice social worker, and other supports in the community, and a judge who was just amazing and actually went back on this young person's past to see where he is today. He was like the first young youth offender to be discharged without conviction through our court systems, to be able to start fresh with the right supports around him. So that was a pretty amazing outcome for that young person. Yeah.
Aroa mai Mari, thanks for coming up. I know she's very shy in a public setting, but she's one of our Navigator champions. I've been told to knock this on the head. So when you get out there and people say, what is it that navigators do? I'll tell you what we do. What do we do? Everything. Kia ora.